always loved, Porsches. When I was a kid, I always wanted a 911. And then the movie Risky Business came out.
Okay.
And so fell in love with the 928. I thought, well, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
And so when I graduated high school, I got a job, maxed out all my credit cards, borrowed money from my parents, and bought an old 79 928. And so that was my first Porsche, and I loved that car. It was bronze, and I painted it black like everyone else did.
Did you paint it yourself, or did you?
I had it painted.
Okay, nice.
But at an inexpensive paint shop. It used to be a lot cheaper back then than it is now. I just loved the car. It got too expensive, I had to sell it. Then I ended up buying a 911 Targa, a white Targa, and I loved that car. It was my first 911, and that was a lot of fun. It's a bug. You get addicted to the cars, and so I've only ever had Porsches since.
Okay.
And now I have 5 kids, and they're all driving now. So in our family we have, just a ton of Porsches. And it's been kind of fun. And basically my strategy is to just never sell them. So when your car's towards the end of the life, instead of selling it, you just keep it.
Yeah.
And just get another one, and then
There
kind of
you
make
go.
it a collectible car and fix
Hoarding
it up.
Porsches.
Yeah, so it's kind of fun.
So which one is yours here today?
So today I brought the 4S because it's a little rainy.
Okay.
And that's a 4-wheel drive car, so I brought
This one or that one?
This one right here.
Second one. Okay.
So that one there, it's a manual, and it's a 4S. So I love the wide body cars.
Yeah.
And so I like my favorite is the 930 Turbo, which has the it's just the
Super
most
wide.
beautiful car I think I've ever seen. So that's the dream Porsche for me. So I love that car. And my son, I was trying to get my son to drive it down here, but because it was raining when I came earlier, so I didn't want to drive it in the rain. But now it's kind of dry. But this is a fun deal. This deal we have here, it's just a local group of guys. We get together every Sunday here at my friend's coffee shop. He's German and he drives Dodges. It's pretty funny. So I'm English and I drive German cars, and he's German and he's driving American cars. And so we get here early in the morning when we're not bothering anyone, and it's just a nice group of guys. And we have Hamid over there who has his Ferrari, and he comes on purpose right before we get here and gets the middle spot. So it's kind of become a fun thing now. So we really enjoy it. So yeah, it's cool. But a lot of interesting cars. You've got GT2 RS, like the newer top of the line stuff, and then we have all the way down to like the 912, vintage 68 912, which is super cool. He's got a great story. That's a 20-year-old mechanic. He works at European Collectibles, and he's, fixing that car up himself.
He's been a mechanic for 20 years?
No. He's a 20-year-old mechanic.
Young man.
So he's a young man, 20 years old. He, used all his savings and money to buy that car, and he's fixing it up. And he drives it every day. That's his daily driver. So he loves it.
Yeah.
And then we have Dave back over there. He's got a few Porsches as well. He's addicted, kind of caught the bug like I have. And that car is a super cool car. He redid the interior kind of like Singer, like the custom builder.
Okay.
And his seats are all custom in there, and it's super cool. It's just a super cool car.
Should we take a walk over
Yeah,
there?
let's go check it out.
Take a look. Okay.
He's got the Fuchs wheels, like the old school Porsches.
Yeah.
And I just love this interior. I just love what he's done. Let's check it out. I'll show you. It makes me want to do this.
You'll love it. I'm like seriously thinking.
And look at he's done the
Beautiful.
houndstooth, Pepita they call it, and just a really nice spec. He's done the door panels as well. This is actually a Ferrari red color, but don't tell anyone. But just a beautiful car, just a really well
They're
done,
hard to get,
tasteful, not crazy, but just a nice looking car.
Yeah, very classy. And you said that's like a Lapita?
Pepita.
Pepita. And so is that
That's what
the
they
pattern
call.
type?
That's what they call the pattern. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've
It's
seen
just
that pattern.
real subtle, really nice, really classy. My wife, I got her a turbo, a white, a newer turbo, and she wanted red interior, and I couldn't find one with red. I couldn't afford to buy a new one, so I was buying used. And so she ended up with black interior, and then she saw this car. It's like, oh, I really wanted red. But it's beautiful. And I love these wheels, these throwback wheels as well.
Yeah.
Super
Classic.
cool.
So if someone wants to join you here, do they have to be air cooled or water cooled? Or any type of
we're
Porsche
not
work?
fussy. We're not fussy, and as long as they're cool people,
Yeah.
we just like good people. And that's the interesting thing when you go to Porsche meets. Generally speaking, it's very low key people. It's not a lot of flashy people, and I think that's what's nice about Porsche is, it's kind of like the nicest, funnest car that you can get away with driving without looking too, to like a show off.
Yeah, absolutely.
But they're just kind of understated. They're not too crazy. You can drive them to the grocery store. Don't attract too much attention.
Absolutely.
Although when you drive the old ones, people are, thumbs upping on those.
Yeah.
So they're fun. A lot of fun.
Is there like a character trait that Porsche brings out? Like whenever you get in that car, you kind of feel a different way, or you have.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. You feel like one with the car. You really do. It's the way they handle. They just snug you, especially the sports seats. I think this one has a sports seats. These are the regular. These are the sports seats. They hug you right here, and they're adjustable. You can actually make them. But when you turn, they just hold you in.
You feel the love of Porsche just kind of holding you.
That's right. And these cars, they handle so well. You can zip in and out, and they just point and shoot. They're just very nimble. And with the engine in the back, it's just you've got a lot of grip.
Yeah.
And they're just so fun. The most fun car to drive. I mean, I've driven Ferraris. We've got those. They drive like almost like a roller skate.
Right.
More like a race car. That is more like a race car feel. Very rough and bumpy, but very planted. Whereas these are a little bit more nimble. The wonderful cars are obviously the Ferraris. They look beautiful.
Yes.
But that's more of an event. You stand out a little bit more than I'd like to stand out.
Which ones handle a little better?
Well, it depends. I mean, you talk about that GT2 RS over there, and that's right up there with the Ferrari. So it just depends. The older cars like the 912 and the 60s and the 70s cars, they're a little bit more soft. They're fun to drive because they're lightweight and they're not a lot of power, but they don't need a lot of power.
Yeah.
But when you get into the newer cars like that GT2 RS, I mean, you can barely shift. I mean, if you floor the thing, the revs just climb so fast, and it's you're
boom,
yeah,
boom.
Yeah. But I was talking to Art about his car, and he said that he doesn't have the character feel. And Art has, he's like me, he likes the air-cooled as well, so he has both.
Yeah.
And we both agree that driving our air-cooled is a little bit more engaging. And he's a turbo guy. I know he's got all his cars are turbos. I've got some turbos and some aspirated. And I do agree with him. I like the feel of the turbos too, because especially the single turbo. Yeah, the single turbos are really interesting because the character is so different than any other car. And the turbos we have are 4-speed, so it's the complete opposite of the new cars with the 7-speed and 8-speed gearboxes.
Yeah.
So.
Well, actually, you're talking about manual.
Yeah. Oh well, actually, they do make a manual 7-speed now.
Okay.
And that to me is just too much of the. I like I've got a 6-speed over there.
Shoulder breakout.
And that's plenty. I mean, 6 is about as far as many as you need, but having a 4 is so different than having a.
What is it? What?
That's a 930. The 930 turbo.
Well, what makes it so different? Is that like?
Well, the long gears.
Okay.
So you've got you're doing 50 to 60 mile an hour in first gear.
Oh.
and it's almost like third and fourth are like overdrive cues.
Right.
I mean,
Okay.
you're always in first, second, third, and barely in fourth. I mean, if you're in fourth in a turbo going under 60 miles an hour, you're lugging the engine.
Yeah.
It really wants to be in third. So it's a totally different experience.
What's the fuel efficiency like that on a 4-gear?
Terrible. Those old cars, the turbos, you don't worry about the fuel efficiency
not
on
at
those
all.
ones. But the sad thing about them is because the values are so high now, you worry about putting too many miles on them or driving them too much, and they're very expensive to maintain. I just I did my 30,000 mile tune-up on the 930, and I had to drop the engine out to change the spark plugs. So it's $5,000 for 30,000 mile tune-up, which I guess isn't too bad compared to our friend with the Ferrari over here.
Yeah.
I mean, with the Ferrari, when you do a tune-up, you're spending a lot more money.
Do you know what that'll put somebody back?
I don't know. I would think it's probably 10 to 15,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, my uncle has a 458, and I know that from experience, I think he has 11,000 miles on his car, and he's spent just a fortune just in maintenance already. But it is a beautiful car, and it's a special occasion car, I think. But I love these cars. They sound great. The new ones are a little bit more quieter because of the regulations. So the older cars are a little bit more, more throaty and sound really good.
Yeah.
And they make all spec. When I was younger, I used to just buy the cheapest car I could, find because that's all I could afford. But now I realize my old age that it's worth spending a little bit more money to get a well-equipped car that doesn't need a lot of work.
Yeah.
Like a car like this that has the full leather dash, and someone spent a lot of money, doing these improvements.
Absolutely.
That's good to buy a car like this that someone's already spent the money, because to do it is very expensive.
Absolutely. Would you be open to talking about maybe some of the hardest times in your life and how you overcame those obstacles?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, cars have always been kind of a release for me and some therapy for me. Mental therapy. Instead of going to a psychologist, I'd go for drives. We have a special needs son. We have 5 kids. They're now 19, 22 twins, and then 24, and then a 25-year-old. And our second child is a boy, and he's got special needs. He's 24, but he's at like a 18-month level today.
Okay.
But when we found out, when he was about 6 months old, we knew he wasn't hitting his milestones, and we knew that something was wrong. I mean, my wife was very tuned in on that. I was like, oh no, he's going to be fine. The doctors don't know what they're talking about. He's going to catch up. He's just slow. Yeah. He's like me. He's just slow.
Taking it easy.
He's taking a little extra time, and then he wasn't developing, and so we had to go to therapy and to try and catch him up, and physical therapy. And basically, at 6 months old, you'd prop him up in a corner, and he had no muscle tone. He would just flop over.
Ooh.
And he wouldn't recognize us. Like, I would look at him in the eyes, and he wouldn't look us in the eyes. He didn't know who we were. He'd just stare into space, and it was tough. We used to pray that someday he would just recognize who we are, his parents.
Yeah.
And now he does. I mean, he's
Thank
wonderful.
the Lord. Yeah,
Awesome. He lights up like a Christmas tree. He's my only kid that lights up like a Christmas tree when I come home from work. But that was a really tough time for Amy and I, my wife and I, going through that, and it was, there's a lot of depression, and all these hopes and dreams you have for your kid, and you realize, well, he's probably not going to go to Harvard. In fact, he's probably not even going to go to a community college, because he doesn't have that. That's just not in the cards for him. So, cars and driving, I always get my therapy there, getting out on the road, and that would help me out with that. But life, life has its ups and downs.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you can have, you only live once. And I'm getting to a stage now where I don't have a lot of money, but I have probably money and time. I've got to look at the balance. Okay, I've got money and time. My time is becoming more valuable. So
Absolutely.
to enjoy the cars and things that I've always wanted as a kid. I mean, when I was a kid, I used to ride my bike in England to the car dealerships, and I would hit the salesman up for their car brochures. So I have car brochures for all the old cars. Or I did have. I wish I had them now because they're probably worth a fortune. But that's how my journey started with cars. I've just always loved cars. And I'd make my dad stop at the Ferrari dealership in England. When we'd drive into different areas, wealthy areas, they had Ferrari dealerships. Where I grew up, we didn't have Ferrari dealerships. Yeah. But I would always make my dad stop, and we'd go look at the cars and collect brochures and things like that. Porsches were very rare in England when I was a kid. You never saw Porsches. And then when I moved over here, I was exposed to Porsche when I was 13. That was when I caught the bug, and I saw that turbo and had that, 930 turbo poster on my wall, and those cars just turned 50 years old this year, so that's why they're crazy.
Yeah.
Going up in value.
What was it about the cars? Were you just muscles tired of climbing up the hill with a bicycle? You're like, oh man, I don't want to climb these hills with a bike. Just want a car to push the gas and cruise.
Oh, I used to ride my bikes in England everywhere. I knew how to navigate the roundabouts, knew what lane to be in when I was on my bike. When I was, when I was 12, 10, 13, and I used to ride the bike as if it was a car, in the lanes in England, and I got really good at that. And as soon as when I came to America, I was able to, when we drive out to the desert, I was allowed to drive, on those long highways, and we had a Volkswagen Beetle at the time, and I would just absolutely love driving that car, just the feel of driving. So when I was 13, I started driving on the highway. I would be allowed a manual transmission car, and I just thought it was the best experience in the world. I just absolutely loved it. And now, I still enjoy, getting in the car, especially the manual cars. We've got PDK, which is, very surgical. We've got the Tiptronic, which is the, kind of the old automatics, which are very smooth and comfortable and reliable. And then we've got the manuals, and the manuals are the most fun to drive. They're just so fun and engaging. Control. Yeah, and then you can leave the keys in the car and park outside the store, and no one can there's theft proof. Yeah. No one can steal them.
Yeah. How hard was your learning curve or did you ever drive in England on the left side? And then
yeah. In fact,
in America, drive on the
just went back to England last year. My brother and I, I say he's competitive, but I guess we're competitive with each other.
Yeah.
And so I bought a Porsche over here, and so he in England bought the exact same Porsche in England, but like a little bit nicer than mine.
Yeah.
So anyway, so the beautiful thing is now when I go back to England, I have a Porsche to drive.
Nice.
Yeah, so I went back to England, and we jumped in my brother's car, and we drove from London to Folkestone, which is where the train goes underneath the channel. Okay. We drive the car on the train goes underneath the channel. So I'm driving right-hand drive in England, which is, differently. You're changing gears on this side. We go underneath the channel, then we drive out the other side, Calais, get out, drive off the train. Now I'm driving right-hand drive on like American side of the road, left, So that was a little bit confusing, but we got used to it pretty quick. We actually made it from England, from London to Saint-Tropez in 13 hours. So we drove straight. We were driving some parts of the journey. We were driving about 140 miles an hour. But
that sounds fun.
But it was really fun. We made it to Saint-Tropez, stayed in Saint-Tropez, and then drove from Saint-Tropez through the south of France. We went to Aix and some really scenic spots, Monaco, And then we drove through these beautiful roads. I mean, amazing roads through Italy, through the through the north of Italy, to Milan, and then we went to Como, stayed in Como, and then through Switzerland. More beautiful roads, and Salzburg, and we ended up at the Stuttgart, the Porsche factory.
Oh, nice.
That was really fun.
Yeah.
And then we drove back to England. We were going for 10 days, and I think we did 8 countries in 10 days. So it was a spectacular, and it just my brother and I. So it was really fun. I mean, we stayed in hotels in the same rooms, and it was pretty funny. My brother was, we were getting the room, and he's like, "Oh, that's my brother. That's my brother." I'm like, dude, when you make a big deal of it, they think you're hiding something. It's not a big deal, but it was really funny. But we stayed in the same room because we're brothers, and we didn't have any bookings. We just went and we're like, he would be I'd be driving because I love driving, and he would get on his phone and book the rooms, and it was fun. We got to go
adventurous.
Got to go on the Autobahn, and no speed limit, and it kind of felt like you're getting away with something. You're on the Autobahn and you can go as fast as you want, and you don't have to worry about the speed cameras. And then they have areas where you have to slow down, and they have safety zones. But it was really a trip I'll never forget, and I highly recommend for anyone that's into cars to do a Europe trip with a fun car. It was really a blessing, huge blessing. So
So if people want to share some great stories like that, where should they come on Sunday mornings at 6:30?
Yeah, we're at Hearst Coffee on Lido. This is funny you should say this, because my trip around Europe and being in Monaco and Eze and some beautiful places, Cannes, Saint-Tropez, you go there, you come back here, and this is the best place in the world.
Oh,
I mean, if I could, if I had to be in one place, this is it. And this coffee is, this Hearst, and it's Eller is the other sister, I guess, bakery. It's just incredible, and it's nice that they allow us to do this.
Yeah.
We come before it gets too busy. We're out of here by 8:30.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of fun.
Awesome. Thank you, Simon.
My
Appreciate it.
pleasure. Appreciate it. I hope that was good.
Oh, it's perfect. It's perfect.